Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live again. And tonight we're going to be talking about social awareness. We're concentrating this year on our emotional intelligence overall. And we've been spending the last couple of weeks talking about self awareness. And tonight we're going to be talking about social awareness. And it's a really important subject and one that I hope you'll enjoy. For those of you just joining us, or those of you who haven't been to the broadcast before, this is the way that we're going to do it. I'm going to start with the lesson just so that everybody can learn from it. And then we will move on to the discussion second, and then to the news, views, and updates at the end. And the reason I want to do that is because I know that if you're looking for help on something like this, you want it now. And so we'll do the learning first, then the discussion about it, and then the news, views, and updates. So everybody that is here, hello, welcome. Hi, Isabel, good to see you. And we're going to move right on into the subject at hand, which is social awareness. And it's a fun subject, if you want it to be, because it's going to make you think about how you do your life. And so for those of you who like to take notes, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, because you might want to have some aha moments in the middle of this where you go, this is something I'd like to be working on. All right, Nana, just so you know, we're going to start with the lesson and then move on to the discussion afterwards. And I'm going to start the lesson now. And perhaps I could just ask you two, seeing as you're in the room, if anybody's trying to say hello to me during the lesson section, can you just let them know? I will get, there's Jody. She'll let them know that I'll get back to them as soon as we finish the lesson. All right, here we go. So the lesson today, if I can call it a lesson, or the learning today, is about social awareness. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. And once I've asked the questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some other questions around that. Now, I'm hoping, if I've done this correctly, that by doing it this way, you will understand a little bit more about social awareness, plus how you fit into that. And that would be my goal for today. All right, here we go. Question one. For example, we're doing a broadcast. When people arrive late for a broadcast, does that upset you? I just need you to think about that and just go, okay, fine. Does that upset me or doesn't it? And then ask yourself, do I know why? So I'm going to ask for a bit of feedback on that one. How many of you get upset when people arrive late? And Nana's saying she doesn't get upset. And the reason is why. Nana, why don't you get upset if somebody is late? This is all part of the social awareness part. Now, I'm pretty certain that some people do get upset, and the why on that one, if anybody does get upset, I'd really like to know your why. If I don't get one from the room, then I will add some in here. Right, Nana. So Nana's saying she doesn't get upset if somebody's late because she's not in control of everybody, right? That's, she doesn't have that power. Don't we all wish we did? Yeah. So for anybody that does get upset, why do you get upset? Do you know? And it'll be different things for different people. All right. Now, interesting. Beth is saying arriving late doesn't affect me at all because it's not under my control. Good. All right. Things come up and I seek to understand first. Good. Seek first to understand. Well done, Beth. You really do listen, don't you? All right. So Lauren's saying more frustrated than upset because I feel like we have to go back over everything that we've talked about. Well, we don't have to, Lauren. We may choose to, but we don't have to. But I understand your point. Okay, so I want everybody to feel what they're feeling because it's about a social thing. All right? So well done on question one, everybody. Now, here's the second one. What about if they join late and immediately start talking about something that is off topic? How about that one? How do you feel about that? All right, so we've sort of got to the idea that, some people will arrive slightly later than others. But now, what do you feel socially about somebody coming in late and then going straight into some other topic that we're not talking about? Okay, so Lauren is honest enough to say, I get super annoyed by that one. And it bothers Jody. All right. So I just want you to feel that, how you feel about it, because this is all, there's no right or wrong. It is just be aware of how it affects you. Now, how do you feel about somebody who comes in and doesn't support anybody else, just comes in, wants to talk about themselves, and if you don't talk about them, then they leave? How do you feel about that one? I'm going to just go over some comments while you guys are typing. On the previous one, Nana's saying, well, often they have a need, so they should be free to bring it up, and Sal can decide if we stop or continue. Yes, that's quite true. And quite often, that is exactly what I do. Beth is saying, I do get upset at work when my employee is late because I'm counting on them to be on time. Working on that issue to understand why and what I can do to help them to not be late. Maybe schedule issues. All right, so good one, Beth, and we'll talk about that one in the discussion if we may. I'm going to ask Jody to, or you, Beth, if you're still here, feed that one back to me. And Jody, if Beth isn't here at that time, can you feed that one back so I can discuss it? Nana says, you gotta love that for her honesty. On the question of how do you feel when somebody comes in only to talk about themselves, she said, I'm just as glad when they leave. That's a nice one. So just be aware, we're going to talk in a different way around this in a second, but I just want you to get these feelings going. The fourth question. Thinking about that person who comes in and only wants to talk about themselves, is not interested in supporting Isabel or Jody or Nana or anybody else. How do you feel in terms of that? What do you think it shows about a person when you're in the middle of a broadcast, they come in late, and then all they want to do is talk about themselves? What is your feeling about that person? What does it demonstrate to you about that person? And we're going to be going around this a different way. All right, Jody sees it as attention seeking. Nana says self-absorbed, unless they have an urgent need. Yes, Nana, that's the bit I'm going to get to in a second. Well done. Lauren's saying it shows that they are self-centered or believe that their problems are far bigger than what we're talking about. And that may be true. Hi, Sarah. All right, so Sarah's saying needy or maybe in crisis. All right, and there's Nyasha. Hi, Nyasha. Good to see you as well. So we're going to talk about maybe there's a reason for it. And that is why I came up with the next question, which was, did you make a judgment about them in the previous question? That's what I wanted to check. Do we make judgments about people who come in, just talk about themselves, and then leave? I have to say that the answer would, in my case, be quite often yes. No, it's R, Lauren. And did you make the judgment without finding out what is going on with that other person? Right? Maybe there's a reason, as Nana brought up earlier, maybe there is a reason why they came in late and then needed to talk about themselves. All right, so bearing that in mind, may I ask you, yeah, I would like to say, yes, we're all pleased to see Lauren back with us. She's out of hospital at long last. And so is her mum. So we're really pleased. We'll get to that piece of news in a minute. Yes, I'm really glad Jody is saying, I sometimes do, yes, I catch myself on it. This is about the, do you make a judgment and did you bother to find out first? And Jody's also saying, hearing, seek first to understand has changed my life. Good. So I'm glad that you got there, and I'm glad that Nana brought it up when she did. So why is it so important to understand? All right. Why is it important to understand what the reason is behind the other person's behavior? And there always is a reason. There's a reason why they're late. You might not like it, but there is a reason why they're late. There is a reason why they ask the questions they do. Yes. And Nana's saying that when you bother to find out, it explains what their need is. All right. Good. For example, if I can give you an example of that, for those of you who saw the video where Manon and I were having lunch and her face was deep into her phone, and she spent nearly the whole of the lunch doing this. Now, if you were watching that and didn't know the why, it would look incredibly rude. All right? It would really look very rude. But what she was doing was trying to tell her mother in France where to find the heart medication for her puppy. Now, when you hear that, do you understand? It totally changes the whole story. And my words to her were literally, take as much time as you need until you feel that you are comfortable, that you have given all the information you can. Then we'll talk again until the next tweet comes back from your mom. And so I literally just totally shut up and I started doing some other stuff myself until she indicated that she was, over that part of it. So seek first to understand. There's nearly always a good reason. Good. Well done. Now, how about what if they do it every time? What if they're always late? What if they're always late? Or what if they come in every time, just want to talk about themselves? And if you don't want to talk about them, then they leave. What if they do that all the time? All right. So Jody's saying on the previous question, because I think we owe it to that person before placing unnecessary judgment, which we all do. All right. We wouldn't want done on us. Well done, Jody. You got there. Without the opportunity to explain first. And that's why in a minute, I'm going to start turning these questions around, just so that we can all feel the difference. Beth is saying if they did it every time, not acceptable. So, okay, Beth. So if they did it every time and it's not acceptable, what should being a guilt word, what do you think is the right way to deal with it? All right. Because it's a really important thing to understand that you're going to have this happen in your life. You're going to have people do this repeatedly, and it can happen. I went to, I think some of you might have heard this story, but for example, I went to a Christmas Eve dinner one day. And the whole of the dinner, I arrived at 6, which was the time I was told to be there. And the whole dinner was held up because one person was late. And instead of letting everybody else enjoy the dinner, the hostess made everybody else suffer waiting for this one person. And I thought that was really not polite. But that's just my going. But then I had to remember it's their house. They can do what they like. Okay, Beth is saying, I would express why and how it makes me feel. Yes, you would want to find out the why and let them know how it makes them feel, and then the ball is in their court if they want to change. Well, Sarah, I want to tell you, I thought making everybody wait was rude as well, but that was the way that I was brought up. So I also understand that some people, are brought up a different way. And I could give you lots of reasoning that they were from a different country and, but it doesn't really matter to me. I've always said to people, late is late. In fact, people say, oh, it's only 5 minutes late. Yeah, you were late. So to me, I was brought up with that, but I know not everybody else was. All right, so now here's the next one. We're going to get on to some different ones now, which is like, this is question 5. Question 5, have you ever been to a wedding and watched that guest, you know the one I mean, dancing and made a judgment of them? Has anybody ever done that? They're out on the dance floor and they're doing something that they call a dance, but you don't. Ever been there and seen that? Because I think almost every wedding has one, sometimes more than one. You don't know what I mean. Okay. It's normally, Nana, somebody that's out on the dance floor and everybody else is doing really sort of coordinated type dancing or whatever. And then there's this person in the center that looks like they just took some really good stuff. And they look totally out of control by comparison. Anybody who can describe that better for Nana, I would appreciate it. But it's that, that they maybe are dancing a dance that came out, 30 years before, or, whatever it is, it just looks totally out of sync. Okay, so Sarah's saying, yes, me and my husband at our wedding. Oh, you had one drunk person, lots of judgment. All right, so Nana's saying that, when she sees that, to her, it's just funny. Okay, so that's interesting. Yes, have you ever seen Elaine dance on Seinfeld? That would be, yeah, that would be exactly. All right, so you've got the idea. And thinking about that person that you're watching, that guest who's dancing in this peculiar way. The interesting thing is, were they having fun? Did it look like they were having fun? And when you think about it, were you sitting back, not dancing, watching somebody having fun on the dance floor? And you might want to give that a bit of thought. Now then, here's another question for you. Have you ever been at a social get together, a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or something like that? And everybody is chit chat, chit chat, chit chat, chit chat, having a great time. And then one person walks in, and as that one person walks in, the whole room changes. The atmosphere in the room changes. Sometimes everybody just stops talking, and it's not a good thing. Have you ever had that happen? All right, I'm just waiting to see if anybody else has had that happen. Yep, Jody's saying she can. Nana's saying for sure. Yeah. So the reason I asked all these different questions is because if you can relate, hi Tyler, if you can relate to these 5 questions that I asked, then you are socially aware. All right, because you not only have been in a social situation, but you also have felt the feelings and being aware of what happens to you when those things happen. So now we're going to go on to the next set of questions, which may be a little bit more difficult, but I really would encourage you to participate as much as you can in it because you will learn so much. Read the first question, which was, when people arrive late for a broadcast, like Ty, does that upset you? The question is, have you ever been that person? And by the way, Tyler, we're really happy that you arrived late. Yes, you're getting a double dose of me today. Ty, don't run with what I just used you as an example for, because I'm about to show you why. Well done, Sarah. Okay, so the question is, have you ever been that person? Have you ever been the person that turned up late? All right. So Niesh is saying that she considers it rude. She views the broadcast as a class. And if another individual joins and decides to bring up a topic and then choose to leave, it's because it wasn't addressed. To me, that's their business. Okay, fine. Yes, Beth's saying she's done it. Yeah, and I want to tell you, chances are we've all done it. So, Beth, let me ask you, because I know you're really good at giving an honest answer on things. When you arrive late and obviously the broadcast is into a really difficult or well into well into the progress. How do you feel is my question. How do you feel when you arrive and it's in the middle of something and you probably want to ask, what are we talking about or whatever? How does that feel? And what I want the rest of you to get to just support Beth in this, because I'm certain you've all been that person that has arrived late, be it not intentionally. And I just want to get an idea. How does it feel for you when you arrive late for something? And you know, the we might ask Ty, because Ty just came in now. Does it feel uncomfortable, Ty? Oh, all right. So Jody's saying it feels awkward. Yes, Tyler says, yep, I hate showing up late, especially to work. Makes me feel out of sorts and I feel like I'm behind all day. Good point. All right. Beth is saying, when I'm late, I immediately apologize for being late. I feel like I let everybody down, including myself. Good one. Yeah, Nana's saying, I do the best I can do, and that's all I can do. All right. So that's good. Sarah's saying, yes, I'm late a lot. I don't keep going on uh, with the broadcast if I'm late because I feel it's rude to chime in because I don't make many of them. I feel like I don't belong here if I arrive. Sarah, you always belong here, honey. Don't worry about it. You come late rather than not at all. All right. So Niesh is saying, when I'm late, I basically say, I'm sorry for being late. Yes, and Nana's giving her reasoning. She's saying, if the kids need me, I'm late. Totally understandable. And so, again, what I wanted to check with Ty is how he felt, because the point I want to make in terms of our social awareness is most people don't actually enjoy being late. Now, some people don't enjoy being on time. We know that as well. But, it's like it is uncomfortable. And if we think about it, perhaps if we treated people who are late with a bit more concern, then that might also help them feel a little bit less on show for being late. And for example, you might say, Ty, and I might say to Ty, it's not like you to be late, so are you okay? Because really, it is possible that the reason that somebody is late is because something went wrong in their life. They got a flat tire, something happened to the babies, whatever it may be. So part of what the social awareness is, it's not just all about you. The other person has part of this as well. Beth is saying, I absolutely hate it when employees are late and do not apologize or give me a reason. It's like they don't care about anything but themselves. Yes, that's how it feels, but is it true? And so the question is, we'll come back to this question now, Beth, because it's relevant now in this moment, which is when and how many of you have been in business? Let me just check on that one, or are in business at the moment. When somebody is late, what do you do? What is the correct behavior when somebody is late? Now, if somebody is late one time, that is one thing. If somebody is consistently late, okay, Erin. Yes, I'm actually going to put up a note about that, Erin, after the broadcast on Sunday to let everybody know. Jody, could you take a screenshot of the sugar thing? That is awesome. We are really glad. For those of you watching on the replay, Erin's just saying that her sugar has been so good. That you only became temporarily diabetic. That's what I am having. Hi, Lolo. Good to see you. Welcome, and it's really nice to have you here. All right, so I'm going to try not to get off topic here, people, with people coming in, and we'll chit-chat a bit when we're finished. So, Beth, the reason that people are late is either because something happened to them today or they consistently are late. Do you understand the difference of those two? Interesting. Isabel's saying maybe that's the reason some people are ghosting. They don't want to be rude and come in the broadcast late. No, I think that's a good point. And I'm a great believer. As long come in late and join in. Absolutely. Just don't ask me to backtrack where I've been, because that's not fair on the people who were there on time. That is my feeling about it. If anybody wants to know how I feel about it, I'm happy. You come in whenever you can. I'm glad to see you here, and I'm glad to be able to have this discussion. And I'm just using the broadcast because I think, the broadcast is a good example of a social situation. Yes, so Beth is saying they're consistently late every day, but they are a good employee otherwise. All right, so I don't, so that you have to make a call here, because if they are allowed to be consistently late, what is the message you're sending to the other employees? Yes, Sarah, I agree with you. That is exactly what I would do. I would ask, is everything okay? If they are consistently late, I would say, is everything okay for a couple of days? And after a couple of days, I'd call them in and go, okay, we need to have a chat. I understand you being late Monday. You told me the reason. I'm not quite as keen to hear the reason on Tuesday, but you appear to have a reason. 3 days in a row means you're not getting up early enough. I would come from a place of understanding. I understand you were late on Monday, and I understood the reason. When you do it 3 days in a row, it tells me you don't care about coming on time, unless you have another reason. All right? And so the other thing is, you don't have to address it. Nana's saying that her daughter-in-law is always late. It's up to Nana whether she wants to have that as acceptable behavior or not. That's, Nana's call, right? So, but if you are consistently late, what does it tell about you? Yes, Beth, absolutely. You can't control it because the store manager allows it. Right. It's, so if the store manager allows it, what are you going to do? Sorry, I've got a whole stack lot of messages coming through, and I just want to make sure this isn't something that's very difficult. Just bear with me. Okay, just hold on. Just want to make sure that's not an emergency coming in. Okay, I don't know why that happened. Anyway, so yes, and so this is the whole thing. If they're late once, that's something. If they're late twice, that's something else again. If they're late 3 times, you need to talk to them about their time management. Beth, it makes you mad because you're not the manager. You wouldn't allow it, but the manager does, all right? So I know you're going to be running the show pretty soon, so I wouldn't worry about it. You could be able to bring them into line or get rid of them, because it really is quite rude, isn't it? If you're consistently late for work, that's telling the boss that you don't care. Well, I think, Beth, that Beth is saying she brought it up at work with the manager today because she'll be going on on maternity leave, and she wants to write them up if they're late. I would say that, I don't know I would find out what the company's policy is on that one, Beth. And I'd go higher than your manager. I would find out what is the company policy. In other words, everybody is late sometime. At what point do you write them up? All right. If they say they will give you their advice on that one. All right. So Niash is saying, I'm late for work, but that's generally because I do not like my job. It's minimum wage and it's basically cleaning up the environment. And if it were, no, that's not the point, Niasha. All right. So I've got to tell you something, honey, here. I'd love to tell you that's a good excuse. It isn't. You see, to actually say that I'm late for work because of the amount that they pay me, that tells me something about you. If you're saying I would be on time if they paid me more, their answer would be I would pay her more if she turned up on time. You know what I mean? But the fact you don't bother to turn up on time, and that's your choice, then that is your choice. You're telling them you don't care for the job. And don't be surprised if they get rid of you. All right, so Ty says consistently late drives me crazy, a good worker or not. It's likely they need to get their priorities straight. Some jobs, people rely on you to show up on time and relieve them. Yes, you being late might not affect just you, it might affect other people. Good, and that's being socially aware. So if you are late in a social situation, be it at work or something like that, don't just apologize to the boss, apologize to your coworkers. Makes sense. Say to them, hey guys, I'm really sorry if I put extra pressure on you guys because I was late, but I do need to tell you there was a reason. Sarah's saying, I used to be late for work a lot, but I was suffering greatly at the time. I seem to be very relaxed if someone is open to me about being late. I can tell if somebody's BSing me or not. Good. Yes, exactly, Niasha. Well done. That give Niasha another adult point here. That wasn't easy to hear, Niasha, but you took it like an adult. Well done. Niasha's answer was, that's no problem. I am here because it tells me what I'm doing wrong. Excellent. Well done. We're all in this together, Niasha. Yes, that's a lovely idea. Nana's saying, Niasha, act like you have the job you want, not the one you have. Good. Beth is saying, I started at minimum wage, Niasha. Look at me now. Because I showed that I'm reliable and hardworking, she now, and I was going to put that in the notes below. But listen to this one. Beth, how long have you been at that job? And she's just been promoted to assistant manager. By the way, Beth, when I read that, I had to smile. I wondered what your sister thought of that useless job that you took. It pays off to do the right thing, not only for them, but also for you. Well done. Good input. Now, all right, so she went from trainee to assistant manager in 5 months. I had a job where I went in as a trainee, and 6 months later, I was running the show. And the reason was because of my work ethic and because of the results I got. There's no doubt that there was a bit of that. And it wasn't, and so Niasha, take a deep breath, forgive yourself, and just know that an adult doesn't think that way. An adult says, I either do the job, turn up on time and do the best I can, or I don't do the job. All right, that is there. In other words, I leave. So if you're happy, if you're grateful for the job, however little the money is, then act like it. That would be my advice to you. Now then, here's another thing that I wanted to discuss. What if you were doing something, and hi, Jenny Jen. Yes, she's saying it also doesn't look good on your character if you're constantly late. It's hard to find references who will vouch for you if you aren't reliable for something as simple as time management. Yes, if you wanted to leave this job and go to another, your previous employee is probably going to get a phone call saying, hey, what did you think of this person? And if you are constantly late, that is something that may come up. So, by the way, I'm not sure what it is in the States, but I know that in Canada, you have to be careful what you talk about. And so, you know what I mean? So some things you're not allowed to talk about. So I'd say, gosh, I'm so glad you asked me that question and not one about time management. And then I just carry on. Makes sense. So, all right. So now here's the thing. Um, what if you were on the broadcast and it was for some reason upsetting people? Would you want to know that people were getting upset by your behavior? All right. Would you want to know if you were doing something during the broadcast or whatever in a social situation? Would you want to know that you were doing something that was upsetting people? Well, Beth's saying absolutely, she would want to know that. And I want to just find out, what about the rest of you? Yes, Beth. Beth is saying, I like it when people are honest with me, all right? What about the rest of you? Do you feel the same way? If you were doing something that, let's say, that I was getting comments about it, and would you want me to tell you? Right. Jody's saying, yes, I'd want to know. And I think it's really important that you understand this. It's not about people not liking you. There's a difference between you and your behavior. Would you agree? Yes, Sarah's saying, I'm not sure. Yes, but I'd always like a chance to redeem myself if at all possible. You see, what happens to so many of you, if you are stuck in emotion, you probably think, well, maybe they don't like me anymore or whatever, if you hear something like that. And it's not true. All right? It's not true. It is just this particular behavior is driving people insane. Honesty would be the best policy. And yes, Isabel is saying she would like to know. Um, all right, so I want to give kudos to Beth. I really do. I want to give her serious adult points. Something happened over the last few weeks, and it involved Beth. And I heard one comment about it, then I heard another one, and then later I heard another one. And you understand, it's all adding up. And by now, I'm going, I need to talk to Beth about this because I think Beth needs to know that this is upsetting people. And so what I did was I actually sent a note to Beth and said, hey, are you in a good space? Why did I start with that? Why did I start with, are you in a good space? Yes, Beth is saying learning to be honest with my feelings helps with every aspect of your life. It has helped me to be honest with my husband and my daughter. Well done. Jenny Junjun. So do you understand that I started by saying, are you in a good space? I wanted to make sure that Beth was not in the middle of trying to feed Lucas or the baby, Lily, or whatever, or doing something else. Yes, if they're in a bad space, then they could take something the wrong way. Also, do you understand by asking that question, what am I telling Beth? That what I'm about to tell her might upset her. Right? The fact that I asked if she's in a good space will automatically warn her, be aware I'm about to say something. And then to make sure that she knew that was possible, I said, I'm about to tell you something, but I desperately need you not to run with it. All right? I started with those words because I love you dearly and I don't want you to run with this. But I need to tell you something. And so what I did was I then told her what the issue was and had a request. All right. We remember what we were talking about at lunchtime. I started with what I had heard. Then I had the request that she might choose to adjust that. And then we came to agreement. Yes, it felt, Beth is saying, it felt like you could talk to me honestly. And I know that I would love you no matter what. Yeah, I felt very strong in that one. You've proven to me that you are a true friend. Thank you, Beth. But, I felt the same way about you, Beth. Do you understand? If I had any doubt that you wouldn't take this like an adult, I probably wouldn't have done it the way that I did. Does that make sense, Beth? I would have probably needed to do it a different way altogether. But the fact that I know that you like facts, you are capable of dealing with reality without taking it all personally. That is, you are very emotionally intelligent in that. Does that make sense, Beth? And therefore, I didn't have the fear. I just needed to make sure that I wasn't hitting you at a bad time. I know you had a problem with your toe and that you're a very busy person. So I wanted to make sure you weren't in the middle of cooking something that was busy burning or doing whatever. So, Beth, I want to know, when I asked you, did you feel like I cared? And did you feel that that it was valid? That was the other thing. Was the request valid? And that's the other thing that I found, and I would ask you all to do. If somebody has a request like that of you, think about it and go, is this true? When I think about it now, I didn't realize I was doing that, but is it true? And can I see that it could upset people? And the next thing is, do I choose to change it? And the answer is, for a lot of people, the answer may be no. They don't want to change it. And that I understand. But you may also know that, that could be difficult for the rest of the people who are viewers. So here's the thing. If you can see that all these things we've talked about, if you can see that sometimes you're the person who's late and understand the effect it has on other people, if you can see that because you've been late, you know what it feels like. Do you understand? If you can see both sides, then you actually can do this a lot better. So the most important thing, if somebody is suddenly late, have empathy. Gosh, it's not like you to be late. Are you okay? And they'll probably tell you what the reason was. Yes, Beth is saying, in terms of my question to her, I felt happy that you could ask me and I could totally understand. I know it came from a good place. Thank you. I'm glad it did. And something, the most magical thing for me was that you took it the way that you did. Constructive criticism, right? It's not about being rude. It's about being honest and upfront. If you're not being honest, or if people are not honest with you, how do you expect them to learn and to change? So, Ty, in your business, if people turn up late, what happens? And the point that I want to make is that this is not about criticizing anybody. This is about, if you want to know how to deal with something, turn it around and ask yourself, how would I like to be treated if this went the other way? And that, to me, is a great benchmark for you. If you didn't realize that you have been turning up late every day, which, by the way, that probably would be a lie. But let's say you didn't realize that you've been late 4 times out of 5 this week. Would you want somebody to tell you, hey, I've noticed it? And I would like to tell you that I cared the first day, but I'm beginning to care a lot less because it's beginning to look like you don't like the job. So what I'm trying to make sure you understand is, if you know how it feels, you know a better way of handling it, because the answer is, how would I want somebody to handle it if I were doing this? All right. And I don't think that any of us want anybody to keep totally quiet and then suddenly out of nowhere fire us, or suddenly out of nowhere have a screaming row or whatever. All right, Nyasha says, I really don't like being told that I'm at fault in anything. But now I realize that I was really being childish all these years. But why wasn't I told how to behave better? I cannot believe it was me. I don't know why you weren't educated. This is one of the things, Nyasha, that I keep trying to say to people. Seek first to understand, because maybe the other person has not had the benefit of your education. Maybe the other person hasn't had the benefit of your training or whatever. And you're a prime example of that. How come you weren't allowed to grow up? And the way you grow up is by hearing the truth. Would you all agree with that? That it's hearing the truth that makes you grow up. They say, and Nyasha, this is not about you or anybody in the room, but I've spent a lot of time working with people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs or whatever. And one of the things that you will always hear them say is, you can't do anything with anybody until they hit rock bottom. It's not until they hit the bottom that they can really start hearing. And the thing is, we spend so much time judging people who have not had the chance to learn these things. That is the very reason, Nyasha, that I do what I do, because I do know that I have been very fortunate. I don't know it all, that's for sure, but I do believe that I know enough to help some people. And to me, this is about, Nyasha, the fact that you can be upset about the fact that you weren't taught is an interesting thing. Well done. But don't beat up on your parents for it. It's not going to help. You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on now. You understand what's happened, and you can, do your own learning. I've got a feeling that if your parents allowed you to grow all the way into your 30s without treating you like an adult, they're probably not going to change. I don't know if anybody else has any input on that, but I doubt it. Now, for those of you who were at the lunchtime broadcast, where we were talking in terms of emotional control, I have a story that I hope will be funny for you, but it also is a case study on emotional control. Some of you who've been around a long time know that I've got a very big uh, um, freezer, big fridge, double door fridge, and a 3-drawer freezer underneath. And it's all contained within one drawer. And then you pull out one of the drawers inside, then another one, and then a third one. All right, you've all got that picture. Today, I was busy getting something out of the middle drawer, and it got stuck. It got stuck while the drawer was out. And as you know, I've got a fully loaded freezer. And my freezer is sending bells off telling me that my freezer is open. And I am aware it's open. And I'm trying to get this middle drawer back into place. How many of you can imagine this situation? And how many of you can see it is loaded with emotion if you want it to be? What would be running through your head if you had a 3-drawer freezer open and it was totally full and all the alarm bells are going off? To tell you what you already know, that the drawer is open. So the reason I want you to feel it is because if you can feel it, then it makes sense as to, yes, Sarah's going, there'd be some short words going on. Yeah. You immediately have a disregard for the warning bells. I found, you're going, you think I'm stupid and I can't hear you. I know I'm deaf, but I can hear that bell going off. And so, yes, I totally understand. So, Tyler's saying he can imagine the situation. So, yeah, it was pretty stressful. And remember what I was saying at lunchtime? What I did, yeah, Jody has this vision of me trying to get the drawer closed again, and turning the air blue at the same time. And in fact, what I did was the very thing that we were talking about at lunchtime. I felt that emotion and that anger starting up. And I just literally did what I was talking about at lunchtime. I said, stop, you're in emotion. You're letting the bells and affect you. You're letting the fact that, you've got freezer drawers open and things are going to start defrosting just because the drawer is open. You're letting that affect you and it's stressing you out, and that is not helping. You remember what I said to Emma? That is not helping you pass the exam. All right. And I'm going, that is not helping you fix the problem. So just slow down. Remember what we were saying, the crocheting or the counting? Slow down. And I took a step back and I looked at the drawer and the freezer, even though the bells were going and I could almost see the cold air disappearing. I literally stood there and went, all right, what needs to happen now? And I'm going, I need to empty the top drawer, which is about this deep. I need to empty the top drawer, get it out so I can see what's happening on the second drawer. Does that make sense to anybody? I need to be able to see what is going wrong. But then, of course, being me, I'm thinking maybe I can get the second drawer out on its own. So what I did is I emptied some stuff out of the second drawer and tried to get it out. And, my first thought was actually the right one. So then after a while, I realized the first thought was the better one, emptied both drawers completely. Then I took both drawers out in sequence, which worked well. Then I realized I started to laugh. How many of you can imagine this one? I started to laugh because I then looked up and I went, I guess it was time for me to clean the freezer drawers, right? You see, I was looking for a good point for this stress. And you understand, I've got a broadcast about to start when all this happened. There was lots of reasons to be stressed. But I literally went, so you thought that cleaning the freezer drawers was more important right now? And I laughed. And I then went, okay, fine. And I did. Even though I was short of time, I quickly cleaned the freezer drawers because everything was out of them, and put them back and then reloaded them. How many of you can see the difference in how that went down? All right, so Beth is saying, I know exactly what you're talking about. When the front door of my store was frozen shut, I couldn't unlock the door. I went into panic first. All right, so Beth, right? Remember what we keep drawing. Don't ever. Something looks horribly wrong with it. Okay, maybe not. Beth, remember that what we know is that that's a light bulb. That thought goes through emotion before it gets to reality. All right, remember that. It has to go through emotion first. The trick is, how long do you stay here? All right? The people with emotional intelligence feel the feelings that we do, right? They still feel those things. They just don't stay there. Yes, and your logic went straight to, wait a minute, what do I need? I need de-icing. Where have I got de-icing? Wait, I've got it in the car. Charles always makes sure I have it. You understand? You did not stay in the, oh my God, the door's closed. I don't know what to do. Oh, yeah. Phone the manager, whatever. You didn't stay there. You just went, stop. Let me know what I know. This is what I need. All right. And so even, in your case, phone Charles. Charles has got a very logical mind. He's not in the emotion. He just hears the problem and comes up with the solution. Thanks for the honesty on that one, Beth. So do you understand, though, Beth, that if you stay here, you can't get the door unlocked? This is what I was trying to help Emma with today. Emma was busy with a problem for an exam she has to do, and she was totally overwhelming. But overwhelm wasn't going to help her pass the exam. All right. She needed to deal with the reality. As soon as she started to, and for those of you who were at the broadcast, wasn't it amazing? As soon as I brought her into reality, she made some really good decisions and the stress was gone. Yes. Tyler's saying he's like that when there are a whole lot of chords all messed up, right? You just go, okay, stop, think, don't panic. Yes, and that was one of the things that I was saying. How many of you have ever been in a real emergency? Where the house, for example, I've been in where a house has been on fire, um, things like that. If you stay in emotion, you will die. Yes, so Beth is saying in panic mode, you cannot see anything else, right? You just keep going around in a vortex. You don't do anything to solve the problem. You just get more and more upset. Nyasha, I want to make sure that you understand that trying to learn to be an adult at your age is a huge undertaking. And everybody in this room that I know of really admires the work that you are doing on yourself. And I just want to stop and make sure that you hear that. Yes, Jody's saying when I was working with Emma, and I got her out of emotion, got her into reality, and I just literally led her to the reality, the yes or no decision she needed to make. And when she was there, made the decision, and she suddenly said, it was amazing, wasn't it, Jody? She just suddenly said, wow, it's like you just lifted the whole load off my shoulders, which of course I didn't. She lifted the load off her shoulders by making the decision. Does that make sense to everybody? She was out of emotion into reality. Here is your reality. Either you do this and take the exam and fail, or you do this. Yes, you could almost hear her exhale. What a beautiful way of wording it. Yes, Jody, I agree. And I felt so grateful for the fact she shared that truth. All right, so Beth is saying, I had somebody break into my house and I had to control the panic to be able to call the police. I had to snap out of it fast. All right, how many of you have ever been in that situation where your privacy has been invaded? That's, why, Beth, it's multiple layers. When somebody robs your house, they not only stole your stuff, they invaded your castle. And that is why you need to be really aware of what's going on. For those of us who are survivors, we have a different situation. One of the things that I talk about with survivors is at what point do you go numb? Because if you have PTSD, what happens is, repeated triggers will happen and you'll be able to handle one or two. But if you get too many of those triggers come one after another, you go numb. And some of you know that feeling. Um, but the interesting thing is going numb doesn't solve the problem either. Doing something about it solves the problem. You've heard me say many, many times, the way out of depression is not more pills. The way out of depression is to do something about your life. But that takes a long time for people to realize that. Yeah, Niesh is saying, I was fed up of hearing you're a child from my parents, and I wanted to change, but the thing was they were not giving me any knowledge about it. That is how she got here to the broadcast. I wanted the knowledge. I know that. By the way, in case any of you don't know, Niesha asked me to help her find a graphics program for free. And I'm aware that with her sight challenges, that might be difficult for her to do and fairly easy for me. So I found her some links and I sent them to her, but I didn't do anything more than that. All right. I wasn't enabling her. Here are the links. If you want to try them out, be my guest. And she did. And I'm very proud of you, Inayasha, because it tells me a lot about you that you did that and then you did the work necessary to make those programs work. I'm very, very proud of you. Right? It is, it tells me a lot about what's underneath that child is a very strong adult. If we can just help her come out and face the world, you are going to have a very different life. No, Jody, you're right. It was fantastic. I was very, very impressed indeed. All right. So can you people relate then to the freezer story and to Beth's story that until she got her emotion under control, she couldn't phone the police. All right. That what you end up doing is just literally going, and I totally understand it because I've been there and I used to spend a lot of time there. So, to me, it's about just be aware. This is not about pass and fail. I want you all to understand that because everybody in this room is at a different level of emotional intelligence. Right. So Tyler's saying, not necessarily an emergency, but I had my wallet stolen. I was super angry, but realized I had to just calm down because being angry was not going to bring my wallet back. Absolutely, Tyler. Being angry doesn't get us anywhere. All right. That being angry doesn't fix anything. That is emotional intelligence when you realize that. Put it very simply. Being in emotion does not help you change your life. Having excuses, how many of you know this one? Having an excuse as to why you didn't go and exercise does not help you lose weight. Right? It's just an excuse. It's an emotional thing. Um, i- what helps you lose weight is eat the right things and give your body more to do. Quite simple. There's a free online distance program from Harvard to MIT. It's updated. What do you mean by a distance program, Jen? A virtual walking thing? Oh, how about that? Jen, just hold on. Jen, could you send me information about that and I'll send it on to Nyasha? That is awesome. Look at that, Nyasha. There is a free online program from Harvard. How about that? Would you like that? Got it, Jen. Sorry, I didn't understand the terminology. All right, so here's Beth with, as usual, her honesty. Dealing with my husband, sometimes I revert to panic mode. Still struggling with my perfectionism at my house when I'm working all the time. Beth, that is the whole thing. You are still working on it, as we all are. Yeah, Jen, send it to DearMamaSal@gmail.com. I will make sure Nyasha gets it. What an incredible thing. Thank you, Jen. Ah, we missed you so much. You understand. And Nyasha, this is the whole point that I keep trying to explain to people, that all we have to do is tell the truth. If you come in and tell the truth, somebody's going to try and help you. No, 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 no. You don't have to I'm not going to give it to you now, Nyasha. Jenny Jen will email it to me. I will get it later tonight or something, and I will send it to you whenever I get a chance to. It might not be until tomorrow. So you don't have to leave to do that. Well, Jen, what I do know is that you will find out because I've had lots of experience with you. So she's saying between the two colleges, there are a few dozen varied courses. Okay, awesome. So are we all beginning to understand this emotional intelligence thing? It is not that you can't have emotion. We all need emotion. Emotion is really important. What we do need to do is to be more honest about it. Right? We need to be more honest. Imagine if I'd let Beth carry on doing what was upsetting people without bothering to tell her. That would not be nice. That wouldn't be very friendly. I'm not saying Beth has to change. I'm just saying, are you aware that it's pissing a few people off? And it's like, no, I wasn't aware. Well, okay, I just thought I'd let you know. Um, so you understand, I want to tell you something that I don't like being criticized. But the one thing I learned from being a professional speaker is I would look at the criticisms after a speech and what sometimes I used to say, were these people in the same room as the rest of the people? Because, there'd be 99.999 people saying one thing, and then there'd be this other person. And what I would do is I would start by reading the comment and saying, is there any truth in this? And if there was, I would go, quite honestly, if only one person felt like this, I don't have to worry too much about it. But if 10 people had said the same thing, then I may want to do something about it. All right, does that make sense? And so that is the whole thing. If one person had made a comment about the being upset with Beth, I would probably ask them what their problem was, because it's their problem. But if a lot of people start doing it on this particular issue, then Beth has the right to know that's causing an issue. And so I look at it and go, we are all in the process of learning. Jen, I want to tell you something. I want to thank you for something you told me years and years ago when you were first trying to get pregnant. The thing that Jen told me a long time ago was that she went on a special diet just so she could be healthy enough to get pregnant. And it was really, but I remember, Jen, I remember you saying that every day after dinner you had a cupcake. You actually did everything so that you could have a cupcake every day. I believe it was a cupcake. But it was really funny when they told me I was diabetic, I'm going to remember what Jen told me. If I eat healthier enough, I can still have something sweet every day. And Jenny, I'd like to thank you because I've proved that to be true. I lost 4.6 pounds this month. And I have had ice cream. I have had apple meringue. I have had all sorts of, caramel kisses, you name it. But the amount has dramatically changed. and because every day when I do it, Jen, I think of you and I go, I'm allowed to have something sweet. This is not about I must give up sweets altogether. You had dessert after every meal. Exactly. And you limited it to just one meal. My reward for doing well, Jen, my reward for doing well all day is that I get dessert. Right? So if I've kept my carbs under control all day, then I can do that. And the funny thing is, today something really funny happened. I made a homemade pizza out of all good foods. Really, seriously, it was real tomatoes and peppers and celery and everything else, and then I covered it with caramelized onions and doing all of that sort of stuff. And the interesting thing was when I'd finished, I could not believe the carbs. I don't know what caused the carbs, the grapes or something that I had with it, but the carbs went up. And I went, I don't mind. I know how to fix that. And Jody, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is all about how we learn from one another and why it's so important that we talk about these things. I literally went, don't like those carbs. I went straight to the kitchen, grabbed a stringable cheese, ate that, went, that's a lot better. I need something else that's protein. And then found something else in my fridge that was protein. By the time I added those two, my carbs had totally balanced out to below 50%. And I went, I know what to do. And thank you all, because that is how we're learning. Jen, as we only see you every now and then, any other updates that we need to know? And while you're typing that, if anybody's got any specific questions for Jen or anybody else in the room, let's start doing that now. For those of you who want to know, it's Judy's birthday tomorrow. It is Jenny's birthday, Jen's birthday on the 15th, I believe, Jen. And for those of you who remember Coco, it is her birthday on the 18th. So if those of you who are long-time viewers, you will remember some of those names. Those of you who don't remember the names, don't worry. They are from way back when. And for those of you who might not have heard, I will put up a notice at the end of the weekend. But Kerry got her new job. We're really pleased for her. Becca could do with a little bit of support at the moment. Just telling you, those of you who are in touch with her. Lauren is home, as you probably heard, and so is Manon. And Manon's puppy is fine. They've managed to find the medications. And as you've already heard, Erin has done so well with her diabetes, getting that under control. So that is really good news. You're going to your first drag queen show. I want to tell you, I can remember my first drag queen show was in London. And you and Becca are going to meet for lunch. I'm so pleased, Jen. She's going through some tough time at the moment within her world, so that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think how many years ago. I'm now 70, so that would have been 40 years ago. I went to my first, I think about 40 years ago, I went to my first drag queen thing. You've never been. I'm so excited. Yeah. How was it? Was it so fun? I want to tell you that I enjoyed it. And Jen, do you want to know why I enjoyed it? First of all, it was so over the top. It wasn't even funny. And you must remember, this is 40 years ago when this wasn't quite as normal. And I went to the top one that was in London. I was taken there. I enjoyed it because I think you know me pretty well, Jen. I thought past the show. I saw how much time they must have spent on makeup. I saw how much time they must have spent on designing the outfits and things like that. And I really appreciated the showmanship and the everything else around it. Do you know what I mean? This was more than just, it's like watching a really good actor. You realize that to do that good a job in that part, you had to live it. I do appreciate the details. I had, some of you know, I was with Benji this week for a while, and something happened. And as we were walking towards the hotel, Benji said to me, I just wish I could pick up on things the way that you do. Hi, Marie, welcome. And he said that to me, and I said, give yourself 40 years, honey, you will. It's just like I pick up this. I pick up some pretty uh, interesting things with people, with their body language, with the way they dress, the way they talk. Yes, I want to tell you, Jen, if you can not only enjoy the show, first of all, enjoy it on a superficial level, if I can word it that way. But then, I know that you have an attention for detail as well. And then, go that extra depth and go, wow, how long did that makeup take? You know what I mean? And how long did he have to learn how to walk in high heels like that? I wonder how long it took him. So I'm hoping that you all got a little something out of today's broadcast. I just want to explain for those of you who might have come in a bit later or didn't know, I'm changing the broadcasts around where we start with the lesson, then do the discussion, then do the chit chat, because I realize that if I have a subject matter here and people don't know us, they come and we're not talking about the very thing that they came for. And so I wanted to make sure we start with the lesson so that if anybody picks up on that as a video, that they get there and they get help first. I think you all I will understand that if you ever look for anything on YouTube, you want the answer quickly. And so what I wanted to make sure is that we turn the programs around to actually cater to that. And I'm sure that you will all understand that that is. The other thing was I wanted to know from all of you, if you wouldn't mind giving me that feedback. When I finish these, how many of you, let's say you missed this one today, how many of you would just like that little segment where it's the case study or the lesson or whatever? How many of you would like to have just that very small bit on a video on its own, that you don't need to go through 2 hours to get to that? Because what I was talking about, and I want to get some feedback on this because I believe there may be value. It's a lot more work for me, but I'm prepared to do it. To literally take out that chunk that is the learning moment and then put that up as a video on its own, and then say, if you'd like to hear the discussion that went on around this, go to this video and pick it up at this point, which is where we started the discussion. You'd like to be able to just click and get the chunk of it. Okay, fine. So that's what I was thinking, Marie, that I'm looking at how to do this because I know you're all interested in the work because you keep coming back. And I think it's wonderful. The other thing is, I just wanted to check with you. No problem, Jen. I will just look for an email. I've got a pretty good idea what I will be looking for. There was another question I had. Well, we're just going to test it out and see how it goes. I also was saying at lunchtime that I have started to write my diabetic recovery journey because that's what it is to me. Diabetes no more. I've started to document that, and I wondered how many of you would like to see that work. What I am going to do is, those of you who would like to know how I'm losing the weight, literally, what I was going to do was to then send it to the subscriber list. And you literally say, okay, if you'd like to see what I'm doing, this is the link so you can get in there and see it. So I don't know how many people are interested or not, but then when I've got it all together, I will probably put it out as an ebook. But in the meantime, while I'm putting it all together, because I do believe that I will take myself out of diabetes, you know that. I really honestly believe that. I believe it's possible to do. I just have to keep doing the right things. And I think if I can do it in a way where it's not that difficult, that means it might help other people. So anyway, that's what I'm busy playing with at the moment. I wanted to give us a couple of quotes to see how you feel about this. Dale Carnegie said, when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. And that is why, if I can add this in, that's why we need emotional intelligence. Because if we deal with people only at a logical level, we will get not very much response. If we can actually understand their emotion, and the way we understand their emotion is to better understand our own. Does that make sense? And Jesse Scott said, when our emotional health is in a bad state, so is our level of self-esteem. We have to slow down and deal with what is troubling us so that we can enjoy the simple joy of being happy and at peace with ourselves. How many of you going, yes, please? I would like that. And somebody whose first name is Rashid, I cannot get my tongue around his second name. The only way to change somebody's mind is to connect with them from the heart. You remember what we said about somebody being late? They already, if they are halfway decent, feel badly about being late. So if you can start by saying, oh, Jen, I see you're late. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I was worried about you. That sets the whole discussion up from a different level. I would like to say that it depends which diabetes you have, Nyasha, whether it's 1 or 2. All right? I believe that type 2 can be reversed with the right things, if you do the right things. That is what I have been led to believe. Now, listen to what Theodore Roosevelt said, because I think this really is where it's all at. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. All right? Jen, I know enough about you that is not normal behavior. Jen, for those of you on the replay, Jen is saying, I was actually late for work today. And I can imagine how you felt. For anybody who thinks they're a perfectionist, try Jen on for size. Yeah. So how many of you agree with that? Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I used to say to people, there have been times when I learned far more from somebody with an illness than I did from the doctor. Because somebody who's got the illness also understands what's going on inside your mind. They know a lot of the stuff that's going on, and they were able to help me more. I find it interesting that as soon as I heard the diabetes thing, I went, oh, thank goodness I've got viewers that know all about this. And that was, I was so happy. You accumulated only 8 inches of snow. Be grateful, Jen. No plow in sight. Yeah, I'm afraid to say that I don't think I've ever seen a plow in my street. Yeah. You wish you had some snow, Marie. Well, careful what you wish for. And I'm certain there are an awful lot of people that would be only too happy to pass theirs on to you if they could. So listen to this one and hear it. Anybody who is capable of angering you becomes your master. Think about that. Anybody who has the ability to make you angry actually has control over you. Can you all see that now? We're going to get a snowstorm soon this weekend. Really? Thank you for letting me know. I will get my snow shovel. Snow shovel. Easy for me to say. Thank you for giving me the heads up, Nana. Yeah, Tyler, I want to tell you, when I heard about that polar vortex coming in, I was just watching about Montana, and I'm going, poor Tyler. In fact, Tyler, I didn't expect to see you online at all this weekend. I really didn't. I thought you guys would be no hydro electricity, nothing by now. So I'm very pleased to see you here. Aristotle said anyone can be angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not easy. How many of you have already learned that you need somewhere to vent, but make sure you vent to the right people? And it's nearly always not the person that made you want to vent. I want to give real thanks to Jody and a couple of other my viewers who when I need to, I just literally put up a note and he goes, I need to vent. I've actually got an emoji with somebody pulling their hair out. Yes, certainly. Isabel's asking for me to repeat the one before. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. I have found, Nana's saying people vent to the people who they feel are safe. I used to vent to the person that made me angry, and that's a total waste of time. Yeah, that's what I found out. You actually need to vent to people who really love you and understand you and will help you remember, get down out of emotion and back into reality. Listen to Beth again with incredible awareness. Beth saying, my perfectionism causes me to be angry with everything until I get it done. But it also makes you very difficult to work with, Beth. I just need to start working with you on that one because I know you're going to need that help soon. And when you do, let me know and I will do what I can. Maria's saying, I can totally relate to venting to those who don't care. Yes. Tyler says, I love Canadians, but I really hate the weather you send down. We don't want it, Ty. Beth says, I anger myself. So my perfectionism is my master. Way to go, Beth. You don't like that. Yes, you are actually upsetting yourself. Well done. If you can see that, you have come a long way, my love. Wow, you've come a long way. To be able to see that you are that you upset yourself, that is awesome. Well done. All right, so Nana's saying have kids, they vent to you to get strong. Unfortunately, I'm sort of not everybody is capable of doing that, but I appreciate what you're saying. I, you know, I also found that Nana, that picking the right family, if your family isn't a family you can vent to, then find, get new ones, get new members into your extended family that you choose to, get yourself a second grandmother or a new mother or something else, somebody that you can talk to. Marie's saying, I tried venting about work drama in the past, to my boyfriend, but he never understood the girl drama and just thought it was ridiculous. Right. I learned my mom will always lend me a good ear to hear. By the way, Marie, if ever you need to vent, you know I'm here, right? Just write it to me. So I'd be more than happy. I really am amazed how many people have done that, and just by writing it, you'll find that you. Yvonne is my family. Thank you, Jen. You know that. We actually are buds in a lot of ways. Do you know what she did that was so sweet yesterday, Jen? She came up out of nowhere yesterday and said, I need to prick your finger. And I'm going, what? And she said, I want to check your blood sugar, see how you're doing. Because you've been very quiet for a couple of days. The fact that I was exhausted from a week before is irrelevant. But she said, you've been very quiet for a couple of days. I want to make sure you're okay. And she literally pulled out all her paraphernalia and did all that she had to do, which looked like an awful lot of work to me, but never mind. And she pricked my finger, Jen, and she, said, your blood does not like to come out of your body, does it? I said, nope. But you want to be grateful you just want a little bit. Imagine what it's like when I have to give a vial. And she's literally, taking the blood, and she did the test, and I was 6.4 right after a meal. So it went green. I'm happy. I really do feel that I'm doing the right things. How about this one? Experience is not what happens to you. It's how you interpret what happens to you. Jen, I want to tell you something. And Yvonne was one of the greatest gifts I ever received in my life. Or how about emotions can get in the way or you can get out of the way? How many of you can now see that the longer you stay in that emotional box, the less you're going to get done? Jen, I really, I don't know if you heard, Jen, but when the doctor said to me, Sal, you got diabetes, I went, okay, self-inflicted wound. He went, what? And I said, self-inflicted wound. Yep. What do I do now? And he said, I cannot believe your reaction to that. And I said, well, it is a self-inflicted wound, isn't it? I didn't get this by eating the right things. I did this by not eating the right things. Now, some of you need to hear this one, so let me know who of you are grateful for this one. It's a bit longer, but I'm certain you will relate to it. It says, running a marathon with a backpack is tough, and it may hinder you from winning the race. Don't let the baggage from your past, heavy with fear, guilt, and anger, slow you down. Remember what we say when we say take one, keep taking one step forward. Don't worry about what went wrong in the past. Don't worry about what you didn't do right in the past. Don't worry about your perfectionism in the past. Every day you get to turn a new page of your day timer of life. Every day you get to decide how you're going to handle it from today onwards. And how about this one? When you make people angry, which of course they make themselves angry, but we'll talk to that one. When you make people angry, they act in accordance with their baser instincts, often violently and irrationally. When you inspire people, they act in accordance with their higher instincts, sensibly and rationally. Also, anger is transient, whereas inspiration sometimes has a lifelong effect. And I think that is something that we all need to remember. Getting angry is an emotional response. 9 times out of 10, we get angry because we feel that we heard a judgment, and we probably did. But it is our resistance to listening to that judgment that causes the problem. When you can say, listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but it doesn't have to change what I do with my life. You know, it's like everybody has a right to be a troll, right? But it doesn't need to stop me from being who I am and doing the work that I do. Not everybody has to like me. I just need to like myself. You understand? And when you can get into that space, I want to tell you it's a very different space for everyone. But you need to be aware that it takes work. And Robert K. Cooper said, emotional intelligence is the ability to sense, understand, and effectively apply the power and acumen of emotions as a source of human energy, information, connection, and influence. When you come from a place of love, it all changes, people. And I do, again, want to make sure you all understand, I am working on this every day. I really said this was what I'm going to work on for this year. This is not because I'm really good at all of this. This is because I want to be much better at it. How many of you can now see and already starting to notice that you can see that you just got caught in the emotional box and that staying there is not going to help you? How many of you can see that pretty clearly now? And that is the box where blame comes in, where you use blame, excuses, da 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 da. All those things are in that emotional box. And if you stay playing in there, don't expect to move forward. Whether it is in a relationship, whether it is in a goal that you're trying to do. Right, you always have been, Nyasha. You're learning not to be. I'm a very emotional person as well. It's whether I use it to my benefit or not that's important. And Nyasha, as I said to you earlier, be gentle with yourself. All right, please. The fact that you are doing the learning that you're doing here every week is tells us that you want to change. Right? And that's I decided if I'm going to read a really difficult book, then wouldn't I use that to some benefit and try and help other people with it? Right. Beth is saying sometimes I like my emotional box. I get things done faster because I'm angry, because I'm pissed off, she says. And you call it my angry work. Yeah, Benji tells me that when he gets angry, which isn't very often, he cleans house. And apparently that's part of his mum's training, all right, that whenever they were having a temper tantrum, she made them clean. And so, this is like, that's how she got rid of that negative energy. So I think that's why I'm saying that. I'm not saying get rid of it. Use it well. Right. Marie is saying I get angry and I clean too. How many of you can understand that with the way I'm downsizing, I now am starting to get much cleaner than I ever was before and much tidier than I ever was before. You see, I downsized so much that I actually notice when things are in the wrong place now. They and we all know that before there wasn't a right place. So therefore it all went in the back room or, wherever the holding pattern place was that I never got to. But now that I've got everything just about sorted out, I really notice something on a countertop that shouldn't be. Or does this make sense to anybody? The rule of thumb when you are doing getting a house ready for showing is just one thing on every surface. So if there are two things or more on a surface, I'm going, wait a minute, what's there? Why is that there? Well, I need to put it away. Well, put it away now. I'm trying to get into that habit. Right. And Beth is saying she wishes she could get to that place where it doesn't matter if something's not in the right place. Yeah. Yvonne has done quite a good job on that one. If you like, I'll ask her how she did it. Yeah. What did she need to say to herself? Right. And Marie's saying she's been through house sales too many times that she knows the feeling of being in the wrong place. All right. Niasha's saying when she's angry, she would go into her room, close the door, and play a game. So that is something to be aware of. What do you do to defuse your anger? I actually must admit, when I get angry, I will go to my safe people and find one that I can vent to. I want it out of my head because I know it's negative stuff and I don't want it. So may I ask, what do the rest of you do when you get angry? How do you get rid of your anger? What is your coping mechanism for getting rid of your anger? If you don't have anybody to vent to, I really recommend writing it all down. That is something, and quite often when people write to me, I tell them, write to me in as much detail as you can. And the reason for that is I want them to be thinking through all the detail of it. And then quite often, if I read it and I go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. They did a lot of work just writing this. And then I will say something really simple like, I'd like, I'll send back a note and say, do me a favor, read through this again, but now imagine you are me reading it. What advice would you give me? And it's amazing how many times, just by asking that question, they will say, I know exactly what I need to do. Thank you. So Marie says, when I get angry, I usually try and remove myself from the situation. Yeah, get out of the line of fire. Good. Last week, my boyfriend and I had a big fight. It was late at night and we couldn't get away from each other because we had to work and have school. I ended up just turning to YouTube to calm me down and to keep me from saying something mean. Yes, that is the important thing. Marie, well done. if it stopped you from saying things I will actually say that to people, Marie. I need to get away from this situation at the moment because I can feel I'm getting emotionally charged. Do any of you know that feeling? And what I will say is, I'm getting emotionally charged. That's my stuff, but I need to get out of this for a while. Otherwise, I'm going to say something I could regret for the rest of my life, and I don't want to do that. And I've had somebody say to me, "But you're going to stay here until we've got this sorted out." And I go, "No, that is your wish. My wish is that I get out of this situation so that I don't say something I may regret." And I will get back to you and we will discuss it. I give you my word. We will discuss it at a time that is mutually beneficial. I just can't discuss it now. Yes, you can. No, I choose not to. Right. Good one. Tyler's saying that he finds going for a nice long walk normally calms him down. And I'm getting some exercise too. Yeah, it's a twofer. And Beth says, when I am angry, I want to stay in the anger and make whoever is in my path keep the anger going. I have been angry for so long. It's my comfort also. Yes, it does make. Hi, Jamie. Yes, it makes total sense, Beth, but that's the old you. Hi, Lionel. And Jody, under Lionel's name. Your phone was doing an update and they couldn't get back to YouTube, so you borrowed Lionel's. Okay, well, say thank you to Lionel for letting you use the phone so you could come back. All right, so I like this one. And Beth, I thought you'd like it as a leader because you are now in that that assistant management position now. A leader is a dealer in hope. I think when you really learn to inspire people when you can get them to do something but enjoy doing it. And so it's not about control. It's not about you have to do this or else. I always found when I was dealing with a team of people, I'd go, I don't know about you guys, but the goal today is that we do X, Y, and Z. Has anybody got any bright ideas how we can do it? And it's amazing if you ask people, they will tell you their ideas. And you go, that's a really good idea. Which part do you want to do? Seeing as you came up with the idea, which part do you want to do? And let them get ownership of something. And you go, okay, then I can rely on you to do that bit. Okay, that leaves this bit, this bit. Who wants the next bit? And literally keep going until and make it fun for people. If people think they have to do this and they have to do that, they do it in a different way and it's not as effective. That is my experience. Some people think that only intellect counts. Knowing how to solve problems, knowing how to get by, knowing how to identify an advantage and seize it. But the functions of intellect are insufficient without courage, love, friendship, compassion, and empathy. You see, people always said to me, how are you going to motivate the people? I said, I cannot tell you until I've met the people. You see, motivation isn't a broad brush thing. I find that when I was in charge of leading a lot of people, I wanted to know the people so I would know how to motivate them. Some people are motivated by praise. Some people are motivated by accomplishment. Some people are motivated by the word, it's impossible. Impossible would motivate some people. Or the fact that you might say that this person, this person really cares. And I would actually say that. I would say, Jody, I know you really care. So how can we do this in a way that honors people? Do you understand? I would take each person and do this in a way that serves them. And it would be as different as the number of people that were in the team. Wisdom tends to grow in proportion to one's awareness of one's ignorance. I like that one. Isabel, your 2-year-old, new favorite. You're impossible. Yeah, they don't call it the terrible twos for without reason, Jen. And you might want to tell her she is correct because you are possible. I'm possible is within that wording. All right. You are, I'm possible is impossible. So that is awesome. How about if we can't laugh at ourselves, do we have the right to laugh at others? And before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. I so believe that. Um, I've always said that in my world, the only reason I continue to learn is because I just want to pass what I know on. And so you know what I mean? It's just like I don't just want to learn things for me. I want to learn so I can pass it on to eh, other people that I meet. And some of you will feel that way as well. How many of you have found that you've passed on things that you've learned here to people around you or what? Hey, Beth, are you still here? And I know there was a follow-up question I wanted to ask Beth on something. So I'm not sure if she's still with us, but if she is, she'll let me know. Yeah, Beth, have you stopped and looked Charles in the eye recently when he's talking to you? I'm dying to know what the reaction is. Probably scare him stupid. You know, that you actually stop and look him in the eye and listen without rushing off to do the next thing. I'm really interested in that one. So this today has been a day full of learning, and I wanted to thank you. You did it, Beth. Anyway, it's been a day full of learning, and I'm hoping that each and every one of you got at least one thing out of it. If you did, then we did well. I want to remind you all this is not about get it all fixed by tomorrow stuff. This is all, let's keep practicing the little steps. I am hoping that some of the things that I am coming to you with are making sense. My wish is to take something that's fairly complicated and to put it into words that makes pretty good sense to most people. Okay, Beth is saying, yes, I did. He thought there was something wrong. Was something that was bad news. Shock. Yeah. That's why I wanted you to try it, Beth, because I was pretty sure that was what would happen. Did you have difficulty not laughing? Good night, Nana. Have a good night. Thank you for being here. Ah, look at that. His response was that she has the most beautiful eyes and that he loves looking at me. Well, that's a pretty good reward. I hope that reminds you to do it more often. I think that is absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. I really do. So, everybody, if there's a topic that you particularly would like me to talk about, make sure that you either write to me or else tell us while we're on the broadcast so that I can put them on the list of things. I really want to say that I really value the fact that Jen took the time to be here with us. Jen, it's always a pleasure. I I want to know if you would like me to put you back in touch with Oz. If so, let me know and I will arrange that. I'm pretty sure he would want that as well. You had the most incredible way to insult him that I know, and I'm certain he's missing that at a very deep level. I was just a beginner by comparison. And what I'm asking you all to do, whatever happens to you this coming week, whatever happens to bring your stress level up, just remember to say, stop. I cannot fix this by being in emotion. I need to stop, take a step back, and then work out what I need to do. Panicking is not going to fix it. Panicking is not going to help anybody. If somebody does something to you socially, right, with social awareness this week. Okay, it sounds good, Jen. Let me know. You know, I want you to really be aware of the social interactions now. I want you to be in a room and really be aware of when the mood in the room changes when one person comes in. And then try and work out why. Or to really be aware of what you do. You know, if you're late, how do you really feel when you're late? And who do you need to apologize to? Is it just the person who is holding that function, or is it to everybody? I'm sorry I was late. Most people say, oh, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. It does matter. It's rude. And I want to apologize. It was not my intent. Flat tire got in my way, you know, or whatever it was that you need to own up to. And I think you will find that your relationship with everybody will change. Niasha, if you're still with us, I would like you to challenge yourself to be on time for work for a whole week. Let us know when you accomplish that, because that is serious adult points if you can do that, regardless of what they pay you. I want to tell you something, Niasha. I've spent most of my life donating my time to charitable causes. It was never my idea that it's okay for me to be late just because I donate my time. No. If I said I'll be there at 7, I will be there at 7. Jody, thank you for thanking me for the time and effort I put in. Yes, I'm that's very kind of you. If it helps people, you know, it's my pleasure. Yeah, 22 centimeters of snow got in your way. I understand that, Jen, and I'm certain they were grateful you got there at all. You see, and that is the point that I want to make. I know that for you to be late, Jen, it wasn't your choice. This was beyond your ability. And I am certain you left extra time because you knew that it would be difficult, because you are very practical in those sort of ways. Well, okay, Niash is saying the way I learn is by having things broken down for me. For instance, the words, you are a child, many times, I didn't understand why they were saying it. But being here now and knowing why, now you can understand it. Well, I'm certain it will still be offensive to you, but the difference is you can hear it differently, Niasha. All right? The difference is, Niasha, that you can now hear it and go, yes, I probably have been. And I want to apologize for that. I am trying to learn to grow up. How am I doing? Am I doing any better? Now, if they say no, go, okay, then it needs a bit more effort. I'm still working on it. Let me know when I'm doing better. Jen, that is truly kind of you, right? Jen saying, and I also truly appreciate the time you take to connect with each soul you encounter. They take the time to connect with me, Jen. I think that's only right, don't you? You know, to me, it's like, excuse me, if you take the time to be here, I think I need to take the time to do what I can. By the way, it was really interesting to me that when I was with Benji, I did get a moment at the mic. And when I took that moment at the mic, it was so funny because about 10 different people came to me afterwards and said, wow, I really resonate with you. And I said, oh, really? Why? And every one of them said the same thing, Jen. You care. You care about people. And I said, yeah, because I've been the stupid one that didn't want to ask the question. And I've been the one that, fought like mad to understand YouTube, you know. And I want to tell you, if ever you want to know the truth, that you can fail your way to 1.25 million views because I've done it. It's like, I want you to know you can fail your way to 1.25 million views if you want to. Yes, Niasha, that is wonderful. Niasha's saying, but it's not as painful as it was before. Yes, and she's saying, I will try to look at my job a little better. Don't you dare try, Niasha. Do it. Don't try. Try allows you not to do it. Oh, well, I tried. No. Adult is, I am going to be on time for a week, just so I can come back and tell you guys I am capable of doing that. I want you to get pride in that, Nyasha. I want you to feel the pride of being able to do it. Prove to yourself you have the ability, and you'll be surprised what happens to your life. You can do it. You know you can do it. You just need a different attitude about it. It's the same way as I had 6 tons of shredding to do. Looking at it and complaining about it didn't get it done. I started to literally say, first thing I do every morning before I make my bed is shred some paper. And I've got about half a box left. It's all done. It's such a relief. I must hoard. I must have been a paper hoarder. I've got to learn to shred it before I put it away. Don't put it away, shred it if I can, because the chances are I'm not going to need it later. So everybody, I want you to be really gentle with yourselves. As I said, this is a really difficult subject for us all. And I know you all want to do better at it because you wouldn't be here otherwise. Some of you have got some of these things under control, and some of you have got others. Together, we can all do so much better. Isabel, I've almost got the varnish on your mug. I'm doing it step by step, Isabel. It's getting there. I didn't like the varnish on at the moment. I may redo it, but you know that I'm working on it. All right, everybody, have a super Saturday. I will see you on Sunday for our Soul Sunday. I'm trying to remember who I picked for our subject for Sunday. Hang on, let me see if I can get it quickly. But I know, Pilgrim, I think. Right. So everybody look after one another, right? But again, please, 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 remember to start with yourself. Be accountable to yourself. Remember that if you want to have a little hissy fit, you can do that, but it's not going to get you where you want to go. Taking control and doing the right things gets you where you want to go. I am not going to get out of diabetes by continuing to eat Mars bars and lemon meringue pie. I am going to do it by eating sensibly during the day. And then, like Jen taught me, because she's so kind, I can give myself a treat of an ice cream. I found one that's only 170 calories. An ice cream or, something special. If I've done well enough during the day, then I can fit this in. By the way, Jen, I've also learned that if I wait long enough, tomorrow comes. It's now tomorrow, in which case I start the day with that. You can imagine me doing that, right? I'm going, it's nearly midnight. It's nearly midnight. It's midnight. Yum, 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 yum. One way or the other, I will get those little treats in, I can assure you. All right, everybody, have a super time, and I'll see you on Sunday. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now.